that there are some people who are ugly, but they have money. And it makes them look good. It makes them look successful. Money is not about wealth. It's more so about worth. And there's a difference. People don't really make a distinction between wealth and worth. You know, Steve Harvey talks about his struggle. He talks about how he was homeless and how he was living out of his car. And you see the drive that he has. And that's because he doesn't ever want to go back to that.
Please note that any opinion expressed on this show is my own opinion and does not reflect the opinion of my employer or any organization that I'm associated with or affiliated with for that matter.
Hey everyone, welcome back to A Sip with Samad, and I'm your host, Samad. If you've been rocking with the show for a bit, thank you. And if this is your first time here, welcome back. You are definitely in the right place. This season for the show, we're slowing things down a bit, and we're having the kind of conversations that men don't usually have the space for. Conversations around leadership, identity, masculinity, fatherhood, and all the quiet stuff that we carry. Many of the things that we don't have the space and sometimes the words to communicate. Today, we're going to talk about money. Not like budgeting tips, because I am not the person to give you that. I mean, you know, I try to do the best I can with what I got. And not like buy less lattes, but the emotional side of money, the part of money that we don't really say out loud. And so whatever you're doing, wherever you are, take a breath and let's take a sip.
Hey, kings and queens and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of A Sip with Samad podcast. And I'm your host, Samad. Let's jump in.
You all know that every episode, I like to open up and pour into the conversation a bit. Offer a statement of so to kind of sit with, get us set up. And so today I want you to sit with this. For a lot of men, money isn't about wealth. It's really more so about worth. Sit with that for a second. So I'm starting here because I do think that money carries like a lot of weight for men. It's not just bills and numbers. It's more pride. It's more, I would say, dare I say, security. It's masculinity. And so somewhere along the way, though, money stopped being a tool and it became a measure. It was like a measurement of something, of maybe how responsible you are, right? I guess if you have money, that means you're responsible. You can keep it, right? You know how to make wise decisions. It became how successful you look. We know that there are some people who are ugly, but they have money, and it makes them look good. It makes them look successful. Look, I ain't even gonna go there. I'm not even doing it. I was just gonna say, look at some of the people we have in leadership. Money starts to become a matter of how safe you can make other people feel. And then once that happens, money stops being neutral. Like once money becomes a matter of how safe people feel about you, it's no longer neutral. And so like I grew up watching money move through my family. It was like something that was always needed, but never really discussed. You know, you worked and you survived and you didn't complain. So when I started earning more, I thought that I had I would feel settled because now I don't have a need for anything. I'm successful. But what nobody told me, what nobody said is that more money, it doesn't give you peace. For some reason, I just thought that, you know, making a little more coin, now the troubles of the world are no longer a thing. But I mean, it really is just different troubles now. I mean, yeah, now you have something to eat. You don't have to worry about eating junk food. But I mean, hell, food is still expensive. So there's that, right? But I think it also raises the stakes a bit. Like you start feeling like you can't slip. You start feeling like you can't slow down. You start feeling like you can't say that I'm just unsure, because now people are watching. People are watching, and they're watching to see if you can maintain what you've built. Like I always make the joke that I have family members, and I think we all have family members at a certain point in life where they ask you, you're the person they ask for money. You're the cousin they ask for money. You're the sibling they ask for money. It is, and it's okay. Right. It is what it is. But I always wonder sometimes, right, that, there's this expectation that I have gotten this, but what if I don't have, like, I guess I always think about what if I don't have to give? Will they still feel the same way? Right? Will they feel like I've made wise decisions? Or will they feel like I've messed up? Like, what if I don't have the money? What if I go bankrupt? Will they still respect me then? Well, I don't know. It's always a question I have, because I always feel like if I were living out on the streets, if I became destitute, if I had to be poor, those same people would say, damn, what happened? He must have made bad decisions, right? Because there's just this idea that you do make, it's a representation of success. And so I do think that a lot of men don't chase money for luxury. They chase it for safety and for validation. Let me ask you something. Do you feel free with your money, or do you feel responsible for holding everything together? Do you feel freer with your money now? So you're making bank. Do you feel freer? Tell me. Or do you feel more responsible for holding everything together? And I'm just going to tell you, it feels like a weight. I mean, because technically, like, now you're sustaining more, and people think you got it together, and you're like a duck. I always say I'm like a duck. They say a duck, on the surface, you just see them calm, cool, and collected. And underneath that water, they're paddling like hell. And so, I think it's the same thing. But I also think that, like, with this whole notion of money, there's this idea of like provisions and pressure. Like, there's this quiet pressure men carry to be the provider. Even when the world has changed, I think that there's just still this notion that men are providers. And the crazy part is that it doesn't matter, gay, straight, or like, there's that role just still exists. And so even when relationships are more equitable, even when partners contribute in different ways, that pressure doesn't disappear. It just gets quieter. And so when money feels tight, it doesn't just like stress your finances. It stresses your identity, because nobody taught us how to say, I'm enough even when things feel uncertain. Like, there are a lot of men I know who validate their positionality in their relationships based upon the fact that they are a breadwinner, based upon the fact that they can contribute, based upon the fact that they are the primary contributor. And I think that that's interesting, because I also think that that's something that we were taught that we should be. And I look at it across, once again, it doesn't just isolate itself to hetero relationships. I think I've seen it play its face in homosexual relationships as well, or queer relationships as well. And so for that reason, I do think that it's something that's taught. And I do know some people who want to be taken care of. So there's also those people, right? But I think the problem becomes when you don't earn and when you're not successful, you now feel like you're not a person, right? And so provision without emotional honesty turns into pressure instead of partnership. Then the big question becomes, who do you feel financially responsible for? And have you ever said out loud how heavy that feels? Like, so this episode, I just had questions, right? Like, for the brothers out there, that's like, at this point, I do want to know, as you're walking around with this pressure, who do you feel financially responsible for? And have you ever said out loud how heavy that feels? I think we need to start having this conversation, because I do know a lot of dudes who walk around with this pressure, and they don't talk about it because nobody wants to hear. But I do think that you have to say something. See something, say something. But I do, like, fellas, seriously. But I also, and for the ladies, for anyone who's watching, for the sisters, for the grandmas, aunties, mamas, all of y'all who are here, listening in, I think that that's a question you should be asking the men in your life as well, who are contributors. Who all are they financially responsible for? And has anybody ever taken stock about how heavy that could feel? We make this joke So a lot of you know that I'm Greek, and I might get some flack for saying this, but I don't care. But we make this joke because in chapter meetings for a lot of fraternities, we hear about us passing the hat. We be sitting there like, oh, well, it's that time of year, y'all. We got to go ahead and raise money for such and such to support the college brothers. We gonna pass the hat around. We are notorious for passing the goddamn hat around. Okay. But I, for some reason, I just imagine, I'm not saying it's an easier, battle. But I always imagine that at sorority meetings, it just seems like there's an abundance of resources there. And we always would joke because we said that most men in our chapter were the primary, I guess, breadwinner in their homes. Or primary income owner in their homes. And as such, their income was not just theirs. Their income was their households. And so, when it came time to having to put additional resources forward into something like a scholarship for the college brothers, we don't have resources to continuously give. We have to give in the moment. And once again, that goes into our identities. Whereas we felt, or at least it was hypothesized in those spaces, that the women in sororities may have had more because they not only had their income, but they also had the income of the household. Something to think about. But okay, third thing to think about in all this, right, is this idea about legacy versus performance. And so here's the part that I'm still learning, right? And it's that legacy isn't just what we leave behind. It's what you model while you're here. Like, I definitely am trying to leave as much as I can behind, but it's also about modeling behaviors while you're here. And I've had to ask myself, and I'm teaching the people watching me, right, that money isn't something to chase or something to steward. Or like, I'm asking myself, is money something to chase or is it something to steward? Because wealth without values just becomes performance, and performance is exhausting. Like, you're just earning just to earn. To do what? What impact are you having? And what are you teaching? What are you leaving behind? And I think about that often, like, because I have daughters now, it is this idea that, I have a daughter and one on the way. It is this idea that I want to make sure that I am showing them, not because I'm a man, how to be a good steward of resources, and also how to use resources wisely, and how to the things that I don't know if I ever had the ability to learn. Like, I didn't necessarily learn money management. And I don't think a lot of us did. A lot of men didn't. I mean, hell, for a lot of men, their job was to go out and make the goddamn money and bring it home and give the check to the woman of the house who managed the household. And so I think there are instances where a lot of men don't know how to husband, finances across their home. We were never taught that. Hell, many of us didn't even have finance. Like, I didn't even have a savings account probably till well into my 30s, probably, because what did I have to save? And so I think we don't really, we kind of take that for granted sometimes. Like, we're not working at it with an even deck or even playing field. And so we're making do with what we have. And so I do think that there's this idea that if money becomes the proof of your worth, you'll never feel like you have enough because there's so much money to get. Like, people ask me that question sometimes, like, what's your number? And I don't know if I have a number. I think I have a number right now, but should we have a number? Like, why would I want to limit myself? But I do also feel the idea that money, if that's your barometer, it will become your self-worth. And so that's why I feel like we see so many people, a lot of celebrities even, who are like working tirelessly. You're like, damn, aren't you tired? Like, save some room for Samad to have a job. But instead, they're working. And I think they're working because they feel like, I think about folks like Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey talks about his struggle. He talks about how he was homeless and how he was living out of his car. And you see the drive that he has. And that's because he doesn't ever want to go back to that. And I get it. I mean, hell, Tiffany Haddish. I don't know why I said it that way, Haddish. I was trying to be fancy. But even another person, Kevin Hart, all these people who you see who are like going hard I do want like, and I love that for them. And once again, I say, save some room for me, save a job for me. But I also say, I think that drive is because like the money became a proof of who they are and what they offer and their value to the space. But I mean, make that money though. I'm not even mad at you. I actually encourage it. I still say, please leave some room for me. Thank you. But no, a question, my question with regards to this is like, what did money represent in the house you grew up in? Like, do you remember what money represented in the house you grew up in? Was it security? Was money like, when you think about money and growing up, was it stressful? Did y'all not talk about money at all? Did you see people sacrificing stuff? Like when my mother sold the big screen TV and the air conditioner, but then we went and got the air conditioner back and we got actually a bigger air conditioner, but we did have to sell it and we had to pay some bills with that. Needless to say, it wasn't sacrifice. Okay. Pardon my sip. But I before we move on, because I feel like I kind of went through a lot and I may have rambled a little bit even, but I want to make sure this lands. If you didn't hear anything else today, hear these three things. The first thing that I want you to hear is that for a lot of men, money is not about wealth. It's more so about worth. And there's a difference. People don't really make a distinction between wealth and worth. Generational wealth versus generational worth. Those are two different things. The second thing I want you to remember and walk away with is that provision without honesty turns into pressure. And the final thing is that legacy isn't just what you leave behind. It's what people learn from watching you as well. Enough of that. Now that we've laid that on the table, I want to move us into a more personal space. And that is the From Where I Sit segment. I tell you every episode that these questions are gathered from you all. I haven't rehearsed them. I actually have not looked at them at all. I answer on the spot and I try to just be as honest as I can from where I sit. The producers have asked me countless times to read them, but I refuse. But I will try to be brief because that's what they asked me to do and we don't have that much time. And so without further ado, here we go. The first question, let's see, from where I sit. What's been the biggest financial mistake you've made? What's been the biggest financial mistake that I've made? Quick response. I'm supposed to answer this quickly, right? I was going to say my student loans, but I don't think so. I think the biggest financial mistake I got it. The biggest financial mistake that I think I've made was that I didn't know that I could invest earlier, that I thought that I had to have money and I should have gotten like an investment property or something or invested in real estate like earlier on. But once again, I didn't have any money to put down. But at that time, they were giving like condos away for free when I was in college because of the recession. So I wish that I would have done that. But once again, I just didn't have resources to invest in anything like that. But I wish I would have gotten into like that type of real estate investing a lot earlier. It would have been helpful now for even funding something like this show. Oh. Next question. From where I sit, how do you view finances and romantic relationships? Does making more money give a person more power? So that's an interesting question, and it's hard to answer this briefly. So my apologies to the producers. So, all right. How do I feel about finances and romantic relationships? I think that you define what's right for you. I think that in some relationships, it's a 50-50. In some relationships, there are instances where one might be more of a primary, or I guess a major breadwinner or make more than the other. And in that case, they decide on how they want to break it down. But I think that it's your decision on how you want to manage your house. And so when you ask how do I view finances in romantic relationships, my thought process is that at some point you need to have the conversation. You should have the conversation, and figure out how you all want to manage things, so that it seems equitable for you all. Right. I can say, for me, I remember when we got into a relationship, like he works in the financial service industry and I'm in the nonprofit field. And so, just by proxy of field, he would make more than I would. And so, I didn't like that. Right. But that didn't mean anything. It just meant I needed to figure out what my role was in our relationship and what I was contributing towards. And so to make me feel better, it was like, especially very early on because I met when we were in college, I didn't have no damn money. I didn't have no money. So I was just like, look, I'll pay the cell phone bill. Okay. And at the time we were on, I think maybe either Sprint or T-Mobile. So it was a cheaper plan. I was upset when we went to Verizon, but I love my Verizon service now. I've had Verizon for years. I just want to, not that I have anything against anybody else, but needless to say, you decide that. You define what finances and your romantic relationship looks like. And I do think that somebody making more money, does it give them more power? If you let them have it, if that's how you value you and yourself and them, then I guess it does. But not for me. But once again, I think it's a case by case scenario. So I can tell you not for me. Now for you, if you value coin, then maybe it does. Ooh, all right. The next question we have here is, what is the main purpose money functions in your life? What is the main purpose for how money functions in my life? I think that honestly, I've just gotten to a place where money has been an enabler for me to explore my dreams and what I want to do. I think for a lot of, probably up until more recent, money has been a survival piece. Like, I mean, I got student loans, the wazoo, right? You know, I got 3 degrees. And so those degrees cost money. And, you know, I have a child, I have a mortgage. I have 2 children, right? We went through surrogacy. And so I think that, for a lot of my life, money, its main purpose has been around functioning to not necessarily survive. Cause I say survive, but I also realize that I am thriving. So I would say it's been to do both. I say that money has been a survival thing, but I'm learning how to thrive with it now. I'm trying to transition into thriving with it. And so that's been its main function. And so henceforth, forevermore, I do hope that it will function as an agent to ensure that I thrive, and that my family thrives, and that we all can thrive. We all meaning the community. All right. So next question. Who do you typically talk to about finances? So that's interesting. It depends. I think, you know, you can talk to a financial advisor. There are plenty. You can go on LinkedIn and search for some. Of course, I like to talk to my people. When I say my people, I like to talk to Black people. I talk to people who represent me. So Black people, queer people, all people who represent me. People have preferences of who they want to talk to, but needless to say, you can talk to a financial advisor. I talk to Alan. He's my in-house financial advisor. But sometimes I do talk to people outside of him, and I talk to my friends as well. I learn a lot from my friends, because they too are, trying to make money moves as well. And so I think that as I've gotten older, I'm learning how to talk to more people. When I was younger, I didn't talk to nobody because I didn't have nothing to talk to nobody about. So I think now my circles are more reflective of people who are doing things and who have. And so as a result, I'm willing to talk to anybody, because I want to have, and I want I need my table, enlarge my territory. Right. So yeah. All right. Next question. Okay. Do you feel your self-worth is connected to how much money you make? I don't think my self-worth is. However, I do realize that, no, not self-worth, but I do realize that money does give you access. Money gives you access to spaces. Money gives you access to tools. It gives you access to people, resources. And so is it my self-worth? No, but I do acknowledge the fact that, a coin will give you access. And so let's not act like it doesn't. But yeah. So it doesn't define my self-worth, but I do acknowledge the fact that it gives you access. All right. And this was a last question that was thrown in at the last minute, I see, because it's handwritten on here. It says, if you lost all your money today, what would you do to start over again? Let's see. If I lost all my money today, what would I do to start over again? I mean, so I don't want to be this. So my frat brothers would say I'm an alphaing right now. But I'm really not. I do want to know though, like, okay, when you say I lost all my money, does that mean I lost all my possessions as well? Like, do I still have a house? Okay. Now, see, I told you I don't get these questions ahead of time. Okay. So I'm going to assume that I still have a home and I still can, like live. Okay. And with that in mind, what I will say is I would probably start a podcast. And I will probably try to build a storytelling community to encourage others to tell their stories. That's what I would do if I had no money and I had to start all over again. I'd come and find my way back to you. So, all right. Look, I have no clean closing. I never do. I tell you all this all the time. What I do want to leave you with, though, is the fact that money touches everything, but it doesn't get to define everything. And so if this conversation stayed with you, I implore you to share it with somebody who might be carrying financial pressures quietly, or somebody who you think could just benefit from this particular type of conversation. And so continue to like, share, subscribe, and pull up a chair and stay with us. But until next time, I'm out, y'all.